Module 7. Risk Management. Risk is the factor or cause that has uncertainty about loss, danger, or harm. Risk management is to provide the necessary arrangements for the enterprises to continue their activities in profitability and to protect the earning power of the enterprise with the protection of the goods and persons in the organization. It includes the planning, management, and control processes of the resources and activities required for minimizing the unexpected losses that may occur in the organization at the lowest cost. One of the most important issues for entrepreneurs is the risk analysis. The business needs to be able to optimize risk analysis to ensure its sustainability. Entrepreneurs need to perform some activities when assessing risk. These are identification of risk, sequencing risk, responding to risks, interfering, transferring, terminating, transferring resources to the controls, reaction plan, reporting of risk, evaluation of risk management. Risk is divided into two basic groups as systematic and non-systematic. Systematic risk defines events that cannot be controlled. These risks can be known in advance, diversified, and cannot be completely prevented. Entrepreneurs can only take measures for systematic risks. An example of these risks is the risk of a change in political, economic, or social environment. Non-systematic risks are factors that affect a particular sector or company, not the entire financial system. The most important feature of this risk is that it can be intervened. Entrepreneurs should produce a variety of solutions for non-systematic risks that are foreseen during risk analysis. In this way, they will ensure the sustainability of their enterprises. Financial risks can be grouped into four main groups: market, credit, liquidity, and operational. While market risk is one of the systematic risks, credit, liquidity, and operational risks are considered as non-systematic risks. Another important issue in enterprises is human resources. An enterprise should use the power of its employees efficiently and meet the needs of its employees and contribute to their development. The insufficiency of the employees in line with the business objectives is an important risk factor. The selection of the right personnel in line with activities of the entrepreneurs will increase the profitability and sustainability of the enterprise. When selecting personnel, people with ability to make quick and accurate decisions against the risks that may arise should be selected. The term risk is a French term and coming from the word risquer. Dictionary means the possibility of occurrence of an event that could lead to a loss, a danger. There are lots of definitions of risk and risk management. Definition of risk in ISO Guidance 73, the impact of uncertainties on targets. In order to support the application of this definition, Guideline 73 may also indicate that this effect may be positive, negative, or deviated from expected. Risk is usually described by events, changes in circumstances, or results. Risk is the factor or cause that has uncertainty about loss, danger, or harm. Risk, probability, and uncertainty are closely related to the concepts. However, the differences are often overlooked, and these concepts can be used interchangeably. In this respect, these concepts are handled with detail and the differences have been revealed. Risk is the possibility that a particular threat can damage the system by taking advantage of a particular weakness of the system. The term of risk management was first introduced in the United States in the late 1950s. Risk management also brings with it possibility planning. It's a repetition of if what happens. If happens questions continuously. Risk management was taken into consideration in the first period of the year with insurance. At first, insurance and risk management were used interchangeably. Risk management is now perceived in three different ways. A broad perspective, risk management and manager appear to be an entrepreneur who takes over the risk of profit and loss. Narrow perspective, from this point of view, risk management appears as an insurer. General perspective, it's a synthesis of the above two perspectives. Risk management is the determination of the risk to the financial positions of individuals and institutions and withdrawal of this criterion to an acceptable risk level. The purpose of risk management is to provide the necessary arrangements for the continuity of the operation of the enterprise and to preserve the earning power of the enterprise with the protection of the goods and persons in the organization. Thus, risk management can be defined as planning, organizing, managing, and controlling the resources and activities required to control the unexpected losses that may occur in the organization with the lowest cost. The risk management process consists of 5 independent process steps. The risk management process consists of 5 interdependent process steps. 1. Risk identification. The definition of risk means the identification of the risk. The information gathered during the risk identification process covers the process of solving the problems. Researchers who are working on the subject state that this process involves the reduction of technological, social, and political uncertainties and minimization of potential losses. Definition of the risk is the most important step and has the first priority. Things to be performed at this stage are subject analysis. 4 factors which cause damage to be encountered during the operations of the institution are analyzed. These factors: human factor, environmental factor, management factor, and used material factor. Dangers listing. Possible dangers that may arise from the above 4 factors are listed. List the causes of danger. 2. Risk assessment and calculation. This process, which means measuring the potential loss and the like occurrence, requires the evaluation priorities to be sorted. This sequence can be specified as follows. Very important risks include significant risks that may result in bankruptcy. Important risks, risks which will impose the liability of the company but will not result in bankruptcy. Non-important risks, financial risks that affect ownership or dire income. During assessing risks, abstract factors must be taken into account, whereas generally focusing on concrete factors. These factors are the strategic aspects of the organization, competition factors, organizational development, and changing factors and social factors. 3. Preferring between alternative risk correction tools. Risk management techniques include withdrawing from risks, taking risks, reducing risk, and avoiding risk. It's quite difficult to decide which technique will be used to fight with every single risk in this management process. These decisions vary according to the organizations. For an organization whose management policy is hard and detailed, risk management is limited in the decision-making phase. If the risk manager is not engaged in the program may have to behave at the practitioner's position. In order to decide which technique is more appropriate at which risk, the risk manager should calculate the extent of the potential loss, the probabilities, and if lost, the sources of compensation. The profit and cost of each approach is assessed. 4 scales are available to choose the best possible alternative. These are the degree of risk, being economic, timing and limiting the resources to be used. Risk dating. During decision-making must also calculate the expected losses based on expected earnings. Therefore, an alternative risk assessment should be made. Economical. Preferred alternative must be fulfilled with the least possible effort and labor, so it is not to use elephants to chase the sparrows. Timing. Time period, according to the urgency and importance of the decision to be decided, is short. If there is no time limitation of the subject to be decided, a slow start may be preferred. Limitation of resources. The most important resource that is available in the organization is the human being. The decision which must be done must be careful with minimum people quantity. 4. Implementation of the preferred alternative. First, the issue or problem is clearly identified, the appropriate alternatives are identified, and the possible consequences of each alternative are best estimated in terms of possibilities. The implementation of the selected alternative comes. Usually, each alternative will produce a series of results. These results can be seen at various times with varying degrees and varying degrees of probability. 5. Evaluation and control. Controlling and evaluation are important for two main reasons in the risk management process. First, the risk management process doesn't occur in a flow, but the events vary. New situations can create new risks and eliminate all defined risks. Second, various mistakes may occur during this evaluation process. The evaluation and control process allow the managers to review and discover their mistakes without causing serious consequences. Although the evaluation and review of the risk management studies are ongoing, some organizations run independent consultants to study their own programs independently. These consultants serve for a fee and are independent advisors. These experts evaluate the risk management process in a whole or in part and provide information to the management of the enterprise. The risk management process can be presented in a range of coordinated activities. Alternative definitions of the process are also available, but usually include the steps listed below. The following list specifies 7R and 4T of the risk management. Recognition. Identification or recognition of risk. Ranking. Ranking or valuation of risk. Responding. Responding to significant risks. Tolerate. To tolerate. Treat. Intervene. Action. Transfer. To transfer. Terminate. Termination. Resourcing. Allocating resources to controls. Reaction. Reaction plan. Reporting. Reporting and monitoring risk performance. Reviewing. Review of the risk management framework. A. Sector analysis. 1. Market access barriers analysis. The general problems of entrepreneurs about marketing are below. Do not make large expenditures to create a market. Non-employment of qualified marketing staff. Entrepreneurs who are owner-managers also deal with marketing activities. It is not difficult to predict how highly qualified the marketing staff willing to work in SMEs will be compared to the opportunities offered by large enterprises. It would be wrong to limit the target markets of small businesses to domestic only. 2. Bargaining power analysis of suppliers. Suppliers refer to businesses where the producers obtain the necessary inputs to ensure production. According to Porter, suppliers will have a good bargaining power when 1. If suppliers are producing products and services which are important for the enterprises in the sector and have few substitutes. 2. If changing suppliers for businesses in the industry will be very costly. 3. If suppliers can go horizontally in industry, supply cost will increase and the competitiveness of enterprises in the sector will decrease. Opposite, if the companies receiving the suppliers do not have the necessary power for vertical integration and the sector is not an important customer for the suppliers will not be faced with any price reduction or pressure to increase the quality, and the producers will not have the opportunity to reduce their input prices. When we look at major suppliers in the textile sector, which vary from business to business, spinners, dye houses, contract woven workshops, contract manufacturing workshops, teams, accessory dealers, packaging materials, sellers and transport companies are the first to come to mind. Considering the factors mentioned, we can clearly say that the suppliers in the textile sector do not have the power to negotiate the bargaining power in the sector. We can only talk about the partial power of raw material suppliers. Yarn producers had a strong supply structure in the sector until a few years ago, but the increasing supply due to the increased imports and new investments has caused them to lose their power. Accordingly, the power of suppliers is limited due to the large number of enterprises operating in the textile sector. Accordingly, Textile enterprises are weaker against their suppliers than their stronger buyers. 3. Bargaining power analysis of customers. Intense competition is expected in a sector where the number of buyers is limited. Some factors affecting the bargaining power of buyers: the presence of a small number of large buyers in response to a large number of small to medium-sized textile producers in the market. Buyers make high purchases in a single order. The purchase of a majority of manufacturers' production by a single customer. Buyers to easily change the manufacturer at any time without difficulty. Related to that, especially to exporters of the enterprises and their customers to be strong, to be effective on the distribution channels, the power to direct the sector, buyers for a better price for quality in a very short time, without having to change the cost of any cost, and with a limited number of buyers work significantly increases the bargaining power of buyers. The increase in production with entering of many enterprises operating in developing countries into textile sector, the presence of idle capacities of the enterprises significantly increase the bargaining power of the buyers. Thanks to this effect, which creates a downward pressure on prices, competition in the sector is increasing. 4. Replacement product analysis. Substitute goods or services can be defined as the goods or services produced by enterprises in an industry branch to address similar customer needs. 5. Competitive state analysis in existing markets. According to Porter, one of the 5 powers, the competition between existing competitors in the industry, is the main factor that determines the profitability of the enterprises in the sector. According to Porter, the main factors determine the competition in the sector and playing a role in the formation of the competition: number of competing enterprises, supply and demand balance, sector growth rate, fixed costs, total costs, idle capacity in intervals, product differences, increases in costs, concentration and balance, differentiation of competitors, obstacles to exit from the sector, the level of idle capacity. The second important issue that is included in the economic analysis carried out during the establishment of the new enterprises is the selection of the geographical location where the enterprise will carry out the production works or the products where the product will be produced. There are 3 main issues that need to be addressed in the establishment phase of an enterprise. These are selection of the most appropriate business size or production capacity, selection of the most appropriate production technology or production management. The most appropriate business is the choice of establishment location. It is of the utmost importance to determine the position of the enterprise to continue its production between these 3 decisions which are mentioned during the establishment of a business. Stages and principles in selection of establishment location. The selection of establishment location of a business or factory is a problem of 3 stages. 1. Selection of the area where the plant will be installed. This may be a region with common characteristics of the country: Aegean region, Marmara region, Black Sea, and Eastern Anatolia region. 2. Selection of the territory, province or district within the region. 3. Selection of the location or place of the site in the selected province or district. Businesses can often have 3 characteristics in terms of location. A. Enterprises for the source of raw materials: an iron and steel plant, a coal mill, an aluminium or a cement plant are generally enterprises in this group. Because of the very high volume of raw materials they use, these enterprises must be established in or near the place where the raw material source is located. This reduces transport costs. B. Consumer or market-oriented businesses. A pasta, a detergent factory, and a refinery are generally market-oriented enterprises. Establishing this alongside consumers saves on transportation and transportation costs. C. Establishment with different location. Some enterprises might be close to the raw material source or to the market. For example, a cotton viewing plant can be located near a cotton plain or near a consumer market. Factors affecting choice of establishment place. Factors or elements affecting the choice of establishment location are examined in two groups. First, the factors affecting the selection of establishment region, and second, the factors affecting the location and territory. Factors affecting region selections. Factors to be considered in the regional analysis can be listed as follows. A. Market availability in terms of demand and distribution opportunities. B. Current and future studies of raw materials and auxiliary materials. C. Subsidiary companies. D. Transportation in terms of types, densities, and costs. E. Reaching to energy and fuel sources in terms of density or their costs. F. Labor resources in terms of quantity, quality, and wages. G. Climatic conditions that may affect the activities of the factory and the life of the personnel. H. Water and waste disposal plans. I. Restrictive or incentive factors determined by the law. The factors in the selection of establishment regions or candidate locations and location land are much more complex in terms of diversity and relationships between regions than in the territory selection. The fact that most of the factors are qualitative makes selection more difficult. The criteria for locality or location selections are more technical. Factors with the same name as the region selection are also found at the micro level. The main ones of these factors can be listed as follows. Transportation, labor supply, current population and development trend, developmental structure and behaviors, social structure and behavior, energy and water resources, proximity to supply sources, transportation facilities and costs, living conditions, price existing factories and social facilities levels in land, construction, clothing, food and other issues, locations of existing factories and social facilities, municipal services, waste disposal facilities, topographic structure of the land, worker-employer relations, charge levels, population structure, work rate, education and occupational status, public facilities, road, airport, passenger terminals, technical staff and executive facilities, training and research institutions, climate, taxes. Slide 14. A. Market and debt risks. Market risk, the risk that the financial portfolio will be affected by the volatility in market prices, such as commodity prices, parities, and interest rates. Market risk must be managed especially for financial sector companies. Interest rate risk. In case the assets included in the fund portfolio, debt instrument, reverse repo, etc., are included in the fund portfolio, it is the risk arising from the changes in interest rates in the markets. Exchange rate risk. In case the foreign currency assets are included in the fund portfolio, it expresses the probability of loss to be incurred by the funds due to the changes in foreign exchange rates. B. Instruments of payment. It is possible to distinguish two types of non-cash and cash equivalents. The check, which is another non-cash payment instrument, is preferred more in trade. In recent years, the decrease in the use of checks in our country in terms of quantity, while an increase is observed in amount. It is thought that the emergence of credit cards and alternative other instruments and the widespread use may be the reason for the reducing in the number of transactions in the use of checks in recent years. C. Credits, interest rate, and financial markets. Market risks over the cost of state debt service. These are the risks arising from the fluctuations in the market prices such as commodity prices, exchange rates, and interest rates. The maturity structures of the debt portfolio and its sensitivity to market risk change as the currency changes. The interest rate and exchange rate risk policies that form the market risks are separately for both risks. Accordingly, the ways to combat interest rate risks, while the fixed-term debt variable rate debt ratio is fixed. The short-term debt long-term debt ratio is mentioned and interest rate swaps are used. Fixing the target for the internal and external debt ratio, fixing the short-term and long-term ratio, fixing the composition of the foreign debt currency, fixing the debts of the single currency and currency basket, using the currency swaps and maintaining the policies for the use of market derivatives, foreign currency providing natural security through linkages between debts and money transfers and the currencies in which it is performed. D. Operational capital and cash flow. The cash enter into and out of your business with a certain period of time is called cash flow. Cash flow is sometimes mixed with profitability. Profit, which is one of the most important financial indicators of a business, doesn't mean cash as it is thought, because sometimes even if your profitability level is high, cash flow is not sufficient. Your company faces many financial risks. Operational risk refers to the situation of direct or indirect loss due to the failures in internal processes, errors, or fraud of employees, or inconsistencies of the system in the enterprise. When we elaborate the basic components of operational risk, the following 5 risks elements are encountered. Personnel risks. Risks arising from the inadequacy, negligence, forgetting or misuse of the management and staff, or the deliberate acts. For example, the bank management exceeds the limits and without sufficient assurance to open a loan, participate in other undertakings without doing necessary inspections, technological innovations, cannot adapt to the bank, cannot keep up with the change, inadequacy and uncertainty introduction of products and services, as well as staff corruption, theft, and fraud, and not to take into account orders or to obey the rules, to prevent work intentionally, to behave maliciously, can be evaluated within the scope of personal risk. Technological risks. Technical problems and disruptions in computer and communication systems, virus problems, risks arising from insufficient or old systems. Organizational risk. Business risks arising from problems related to organizational structure and operation. For example, the inadequacy of the flow of information among the levels within the organization, the lack of authority limits, and uncertainties arising from the changes in the structure operation are included in this group. Legal risks. The activities are related to foreign elements and related to more than one legal order. Therefore, compliance with the foreign legal system in international banking transactions or contracts is mandatory. For example, if the counterparty refuses to fulfill its commitment, or if certain types of contracts are invalid in the foreign legal system, it is important that the bank is able to obtain its claims. External factors. Fraud related to third parties outside the enterprise, changes and gaps in legal regulations regarding possible issues that may cause risks, risks arising from earthquakes, fire, floods, terrorist activities, damages caused by social unrest, money laundering, abuse of websites by external interventions, disruptions in energy transmissions may be included in this group. A. System design. System design can be termed as the process of designing the architecture, components, modules, and interfaces of a system that will be established in accordance with predefined and defined requirements. System design, pre-design, and detailed design are carried out in 2 stages. 1. In the preliminary design, Definitions are developed on how the system can be delivered to the specified goals and objectives. 2. In detailed design. Modules created in the preliminary design phase are subdivided into submodules, and these modules are described in detail. B. Human resources is a management approach that deals with human. HRM is based on two basic philosophies. 1. Efficient use of manpower in line with the firm's goal. 2. To meet the needs of the employees and to ensure their development. Supply chain and production. Procurement activity is in the form of procurement of material inputs, supply of financing, supply of personnel, and supply of services. The need for outsourcing after the specialization of technology is the supply chain. Factors that enable the use of outsourcing are globalization, quick change, technological developments, increasing the competition. The most important and effective aspect of supply chain management is the management of costs, which ensure the costs of the enterprise in a competitive manner and in competitive process. The importance of the supply chain in the production process is to provide the right product at the right time, at the right place, and at the right price to ensure the right price and supply to protect the interests and objectives of the enterprise. This is ensured by effective cost management. Sales and marketing. Marketing is called the activities carried out until the time when products or services reach the customer. Sales are activities to change a product in exchange for money or something. According to marketing guru Philip Kotler, strategic marketing starts with research. A market research reveals different segments of buyers with different needs. It is wiser to target companies that can only satisfy highly. For each target segment, the company will need to position its products and service offerings in such a way that they can appreciate how different the products and services the target customers are offering from their competitors. It would be appropriate to emphasize that the disclosure of Kotler, being different from the competitors in products and services, has the same meaning as one of the critical definitions of strategy. Strategy to be successful by making a difference. The work done up to this point is a definition of value and is a step related to strategic marketing. The other two steps are related to the production and delivery of value, tactical marketing, which includes a mix of product, price, location, and promotional items. Tactical marketing is more closely related to classical marketing. This concept is commonly known, circulating in limelight. According to Kotler, the idea that marketing is the same thing as selling is not only a very common opinion among the public, but also an opinion of many businessmen. Sales are, of course, part of marketing, but marketing requires far more than sales. Peter Drucker argues that the purpose of marketing is to make sales efforts unnecessary. What Drucker means is that the task of marketing is to discover unmet needs and prepare satisfactory solutions. When marketing is really successful, people like new products, the likes of which are spreading rapidly to the people, and little effort is needed to make sales. R&D and know-how management. R&D, research and development, is called to obtain new information that will enable the development of education, science and technology, or to produce new materials, products and tools with the existing knowledge to produce new projects based on information systematically to create processes and services or to develop existing ones. There are three activities in the research and development process. 1. Basic research. 2. Applied research. 3. Experimental development. Know-how is the information or trade secret that a company or a person has on product or method, which is considered a secret how to do a job in the best, easiest way. The concept of know-how, according to Competition Board, is defined as a pack of information that the provider obtains as a result of his or her experience and trials, which is non-patented, practical, confidential, and determined. According to this definition, confidentiality, a know-how is expressed as a whole or as parts of it, or even when it is combined to be known or easily accessible to all. Principle refers to the fact that know-how contains indispensable information for the buyer in terms of the use, sale, or resale of the goods or services subject to the convention. Being determined expresses the fact that know-how is sufficiently comprehensive and detailed in order to be able to assert that it carries the conditions of being confidential and fundamental. Know-how information should be hidden in a particular vault. Brand management. The American Marketing Association defines the brand as a name, sign, symbol, design, or combination of all the products and services of a vendor or group of vendors and makes a difference for competitors. Plans are made to create an organizational structure, call for a common purpose and call to acting. It covers activities that affect the manager's work and inform his or her team what to do. The administrator does this in the form of orders. When the order is clear, precise, complete, and reasonable, it positively affects the productivity of employees. The presence of a good communication network will also positively affect productivity. The main ways to work staff harmoniously should be punishment and rewarding. Strategic decisions are often related to long-term purposes. Therefore, the risks associated with them should not be evident after a long period of time and should be reviewed periodically. Medium-term objectives are generally carried out through programs and projects. Their scope is narrower than strategic targets, especially in terms of time and financial responsibilities. At the operational level, the emphasis is on short-term goals and the continuation of ongoing business. Decisions for risks at this level should be such that they support the medium and long-term goals. Risks that may prevent an organization from performing its core business activities. Strategic risks, structural risks such as planning, market analysis, which may prevent an organization from reaching its targets in short, medium, or long terms. External environmental risks. They correspond to the risks that occur independently of the activities of an organization, such as legal regulations, but which have an impact on the organization's preferences. Besides the mentioned risks, other classifications such as information risks, process risks, human and corporate culture risks, legal risks, etc. can be made. Administration and organization. All of the activities for the establishment of the business determined in planning and the relations between the job selected, persons, and workplaces to reach them are called organizations. Short, medium, and long-term strategic decisions. Decisions related to risk vary depending on whether the risk is related to long, medium, or short-term targets. Strategic decisions are often related to long-term purposes. Corporate governance. Corporate governance is built on four main principles: fairness, transparency, accountability, and responsibility. It can be defined as conducting the relationships of a company with the board of directors, shareholders, employees, suppliers, and the community. In other words, in the framework of the principles of equality, transparency, accountability, and responsibility. Corporate governance is a combination of laws, regulations, and voluntary private sector practices that enable a company to attract financial resources and human resources in such a way that it doesn't harm the interests of the beneficiaries and the public, and thus to ensure its efficient operation and thus to create stability for its shareholders in the long run by creating economic gains. According to Porter, the way to achieve competitive advantage is development, innovation, and change. Globally changing business practices, new management models, and competition strategies should be evaluated by SMEs, and strategies should be developed and implemented according to trends and adapted to their own. The changes in global markets also require the advantage of continuous and rapid innovation in addition to seeking cost, quality, speed, and service superiority in SMEs. Different and customer-specific products are the most important values of today's competitive environment. For this reason, innovation is essential in the essence of competitive strategies of SMEs. Rather than meeting the current demands of the customers, there is a transformation in the way of understanding the needs of the customers and providing them with a wide range of products and services, and this leads to differentiation in the production and design system of enterprises. Competitive conditions based on flexible production and new design increase the importance of production, quality products, and timely delivery issues in a short time. All this shows that it's very difficult for SMEs who do not innovate in their products and processes to have a competitive advantage in the global arena. Globally changing trends. Developments in the economic, social, cultural, legal, and technological areas in the century we live led to the globalization of the markets and the change in the formal and dimensional of international competition by eliminating the borders between the countries. Customer requirements. Market research, customer satisfaction surveys, and other feedback tools should be used to find out the current and future needs and expectations of customers and their perception of existing products and services. Legal regulations. Sustaining companies' assets, sustainable growth, income stability, reducing cost of losses, prevention of surprises, social responsibility, and compliance with legal regulations reveal the need for risk management in companies. Competitors. Competitors, which are an important risk factor for the enterprise, are of great importance for the sustainability of an enterprise. Sectoral changes. Sales of some businesses, profits, and hence the prices of stocks show a large fluctuation for various reasons. Sales of some businesses, banking, tourism, textile, leather goods, construction, iron, cement, brown goods, profits and hence the prices of stocks show a large fluctuation for various reasons. The fact that the return of these sectors is dependent on the market return, that is, the high level of sector beta constitutes a significant risk of the enterprises in these sectors. It is possible to reduce these risks, known as business or industry risks, by diversifying, in other words, by investing in different sectors or even in some cases. Economic and political risks. Financial risks that businesses face, market risks, liquidity risk, credit risks, and operational risks. Political risks lies within systematic risk in the literature. This risk, which is caused by the factors affecting the market, affects all securities in the same direction and is reflected in a similar way to all companies. Political developments will bring about the various scenarios that may arise. The possible scenarios that a country in this position will face are listed below. Restructuring of debts, implementation of austerity policies, devaluation, implementing policies promoting foreign direct investment, converting foreign debts to non-repayable investments in the country, all by the creditor.